Hi, I'm Jason with Burton Snowboards. I'm here at ERIK'S today to teach you about how to properly mount your Burton bindings to your Burton board. So let's kind of dig in. You can set the boot aside for now. One thing, you get your binding box here. Make sure you obviously take everything out of the plastic. Make sure you check the entire box for contents. And make sure you're finding the hardware. It'll be in there somewhere, so make sure you're digging that stuff out. You don't want to misplace this cardboard thing here. This is what contains the hardware for the channel, so make sure you do not discard that. That is it's very important. Okay, so you got everything unpacked here. You've got the hardware that was attached to the side of the board on the cardboard thing here. Make sure you don't throw that away. Inside that's where the channel hardware will be. So there will be 4 pieces total. You want to make sure you have 2 on each side. So I just kind of set those there. You can discard that, throw that into the recycling. For the EST hardware, you do have just 4 screws. Pull that from the cardboard card. You can recycle that. So what you need to do is I usually just use a screwdriver to pop the channel plugs, and then these will slide in here, the little notch. Insert 2 of those into one side, same goes for the other. And then the channel plug will have a little notch there that goes into the notch on the channel. So now you're ready to start getting your bindings. So the EST benefit of this is you have the mounting hardware on the outside. You don't have to worry about any discs or screws on the inside. You use these little slots on the outside here. So what I usually do is try to get it lined up. What I do here is there is a little channel indicator, a little stance indicator, that will actually go into the channel. It kind of protrudes out the side. Make sure you kind of start with that, but you also have to line up the channel hardware into the slots, and then kind of usually push it far and back, then you'll see it'll actually, the indicator will kind of engage. I usually like to just kind of push it down with my thumb. And that way here you've got the reference point there. And again, the reference stance is indicated right on the back part of the channel here. So that's 21 inches at the reference stance. So we wanted to go to 23. You go out a 1/2 inch, which will be 1 notch, 2 notches. That'll indicate that overall it'll be out 2 more inches from reference. Let's say we want to adjust the forward and aft. You've got that indicator is in this kind of second middle bubble here. So it does have little notches there. Typically for like a size 9.5 boot that we have here, you want to start with the middle. And we want to go, let's say, a negative 5 to 6 degree angle there. You can get any angle you want with it. Make sure that's lined up. You got the 5 degree angle here. Then I usually grab the hardware. So make sure that little elbow, that little notch, sits in the slot. You don't want it sitting off to the side, because then once it's in the slot, that'll allow the teeth on here to engage in the teeth in the bindings. And you'll be able to tighten it properly. So I usually just kind of snug, at this point, usually kind of snug it into place. Grab your boot, open up the toe strap, put the binding or the boot in the binding, and then this is where I start to look at if it has equal toe and heel drag. You want to make sure that you have that equal there, because if you're too far back, the board's going to turn weird. The heel edge is going to, the heel of your boot's going to drag in the snow and you wipe out. Same goes for the toes. So making sure you have equal toe and heel drag there, and then just kind of adjust accordingly there. So, this one was, we have it adjusted correctly, but again, you want to make sure that indicator is equal on both, just so you know exactly where, so you don't want your toes to be too far forward here, or bindings to be like this. So, at this point, really crank it down as tight as you can get it. And then here's where we'll start the strap adjustment. So again, put the boot back into the binding. Make sure that everything is closed. You don't want everything hanging open because you want it to be nice and tight, how it's basically going to be on your foot. Here we'll adjust the toe strap. Again, we want to make sure that this little hole here and everything in here is pretty much centered on the boot. If the strap was too short, it would sit off to the side. If it was too long, the buckle would bottom out over here. It just wouldn't be centered and wouldn't fit correctly. So then to adjust that, it just has this little thumb screw. You pop that open and you can twist it. This one's already set, so we're going to leave it there. And then it's the same adjustment for the ankle strap. So typically what happens with this, they'll come, in this position here, that would just be way too short. So when we want to loosen that, find out where the strap should sit kind of centered on the boot here. You don't want it too far forward where it would be bottoming out over on this side. You don't want it too far this way where you can't engage the buckle. You just kind of want to find out right through the middle here. The skinniest part of the strap should be pretty much in the middle of your foot. Find out which one is the closest there. Make sure everything's lined up first. Make it a lot easier. So tighten that down, close that. And that's good. So should be all set there. So now we'll go to the front foot. Again, start by making sure that the channel hardware is in the slots here. Slide it forward to get that channel indicator in there. Again, I usually push it down to get it totally engaged, so then you've got the angles there. So again, we want to mimic the adjustments from the back foot. So we want the fore and aft, that middle bubble, we want to get that centered on the red. And then here we want to adjust our angles. So let's go about 18 degrees there. Again, I don't like to really crank things down until you know you're for sure got them set. So everything looks pretty good there. So then again, you want to make sure you crank them down super tight. And then also there is the we call the toe ramp gas pedal adjustment. Sometimes I'll get in here and pry that up. Just you don't need to use a lot of force, but just enough to get them to loosen up. So this is where you can adjust this out or back. You don't want it to hang over the edge of the board. You want it to sit, pretty much as close to the edge of the board as possible. Pop those back in, and then that adjustment is set. You want to mimic the strap adjustments from your back foot, because those are already set. Then another key adjustment, you just kind of set this over here, is the high back rotation. So you want to take your number 2 screwdriver, loosen that up. You don't need to completely remove it. So they'll come centered like this. So what we're trying to achieve with this is the high back rotation. You want to rotate the high back so it's as parallel with the edge as you can get. So usually push this leading edge of this of the high back forward, pull this trailing edge here, and you want to look straight down and as close to parallel as you can get with that the best. I usually grab the middle and pull it back and snug up, make sure there's no gap between the heel cup and the actual high back itself. So here then is where you can adjust that down. Again, pull that back. Then tighten that down. So what that does, by having that high back parallel with the edge of your board, that allows for a lot better, lateral movement. Your leg's not running into this part of the high back and, kind of locking in. It just allows you to kind of flex forward and backward a little bit better when you're doing grabs, you know, things like that. So that's a very key adjustment. And then also the forward lean adjustment. This is totally personal preference. Odds are, you know, you might just leave it the way it is out of the box. But if you wanted to adjust the forward lean, that's the relation from the high back to the in relation to the edge of the board. So the more forward lean you add, you just take that, spin that towards the plus. So what that does is it actually lengthens this and it pushes the high back forward. So the forward lean is just your high back in relation to the board. So the more forward lean you have, the more leverage you're going to have and the quicker you're going to turn on your heel edge. And a lot of that's personal preference. They come set right out of the factory with you know, recommended setting, but you can add, you can take it out, you can kind of dial it in however you want, but very easy adjustment on there. So that's pretty much how you mount EST bindings to a Burton board. So if you got any questions, you know, feel free to hit up customer service and get you taken care of, but have a great day on snow.